Speaking of issues within political parties, within the Republican Party, there is a divide, and perhaps it's growing with respect to President Trump and the national emergency. I think we've got 4 declared no's on this action. There's scuttlebutt that there could be even 10 or as many as 15 Republicans who are ready to go against President Trump on his use of the national emergency, in part to build the border wall. What are your thoughts there, and how are you looking to vote on this?
Well, I'm going to vote with the president. In other words, I'm going to vote no on disapproval because I believe the president has some constitutional rights and some statutory rights to do some things in an emergency. And if we've got 87,000 people a month or some months coming across the border illegally, maybe 1 million a year, we've got an emergency. We got some problems. And I wish we could have addressed it all legislatively. I tried to get the money. The Democrats would not do that. So I'm going to support the president. You know, this could come down to somebody's going to have to choose whether they support the Speaker, Pelosi, or they support the president and national security at the border. That might be the issue ultimately, the way it'll be framed. Ultimately, but is that the way it's being framed to your colleagues in the Senate, your Republican colleagues? Well, I hope so, because I think that would resonate a little better than worrying about somebody's issue or their abstract powers or the power of this and that. We've got a crisis at the border, and we better realize that, and we ought to do something about it legislatively, but we didn't do enough. So the president has acted here. I think he's got some constitutional grounds.
Now, there's some breaking news on this as well. Senators want to see the specific list of spending projects the administration will mine for money to pay for this national emergency. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I asked that question today. This morning I was at the Pentagon with a number of the people dealing with appropriations and armed services, and I asked the acting Secretary of Defense for the particulars. In other words, what are you going to spend? What are you going to take? And looking down the road, if they take it, and it has to do with national security, I believe we'll backfill it or replenish it, whatever you call it.
So, again, perhaps this ultimately will go through the legal system. Many think it ultimately will be adjudicated in the Supreme Court. But this notion that this is a Pandora's box, that once you've opened it, eventually a Democratic president will be able to use these same powers and abuse it. You're not concerned about that?
I'm not concerned about it, because I think that you have to look at each thing and see and evaluate it and see if it is a crisis. I believe we do have a crisis here. I believe the president's absolutely right. As I said, I wish we could have addressed all of it and funded what we need to protect the country, protect our border legislatively. But politics is involved in it now. It's more of a political question than anything else now.
It also feels like it's more of a philosophical question with some of your colleagues. Perhaps Rand Paul will not change his mind. He's pretty rigid in his thinking. But are there others now who are on the fence, since we've seen these numbers swell, that may be persuaded to stick with the president?
Well, we hope that we've got enough. We hope that we will not vote for the disapproval, not the Republican Senate. But if they do, I believe that the president will veto anything that came forth like that. And I would do everything I could to sustain his veto. There
would be some political damage, though, wouldn't there?
Always is.
Okay. Senator, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Well, we're going to go back to Alexandria, Virginia.